Hey, Al Nation, how's it going? Thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. That is unbelievable. I know I promised a tour of the shrine, but I decided I was going to make this video a little bit more. So what we're going to do is, first I'm going to tell a story about how my collection got to where it is, and sprinkled throughout it is going to be a bunch of unique footage, only shown at that part of the video. And then I'm going to visit the entertainment center in my living room, and then we'll get to the shrine. If you just want to see the shrine, skip to this part right here. And if you just want to see the entertainment and then the shrine, skip to this part right here. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoy the video.
Over the years, I've amassed this rich collection of games and gaming paraphernalia. My reason for growing the collection has changed several times. Started with Coleco and Atari, we got an NES, we traded it in for a Genesis, we got a Super Nintendo later on. We kind of held on to our games, we got them all from various sources. There wasn't really a GameStop yet, but we had a pretty decent collection. But I wasn't really that much into gaming yet. You're probably wondering, what could possibly have possessed me to start this collection? I mean, this room is easily worth thousands. Even a large chunk of my insurance is to cover it. I didn't really start loving video games until the Nintendo 64 era, when developers suddenly started changing their philosophy from bringing the arcade into the living room to, oh wait, people playing in the living room don't want an arcade experience. They want something a little longer, a little bit more involved, a little bit more committed, and maybe a little bit easier. Yeah, they did lower the difficulty curve a lot. And then I suddenly found myself beating games. I mean, I even found some limited success in older games. I actually was so confident I went back to try those and had some limited success there. Games that I otherwise would never have given a chance. By this point, you're probably like, alright, enough about your life story. Tell us about the collection. So around the same time, gaming was starting to become kind of my main hobby. I sort of looked down and I looked at my 22 plus N64 game collection and I thought, wow, that's kind of a lot of games, isn't it? And I looked to my friends for verification, and they kind of looked at my games and they said, yeah, that's, their collections weren't anywhere near as big, and they would say, yeah, that's kind of a lot of games for an N64. I actually, I felt kind of good. I felt a little bit of pride there. So that motivated me to dig a little bit deeper. The first key turning point happened during a simple trip to the local video rental store. I don't remember if it was still a Blockbuster or Hollywood Video at the time. For some reason I remember being in the car, and maybe I was misbehaving, or Mom was in a rush, or whatever, but the point is, Mom ended up making the game rental that night. She comes back with this fruity looking game. I go, what's the game? She goes, it's called Mystical Ninja. And I take one look at this freaking thing, and I'm like, this game looks way too stupid to be good. Now, you have to understand, I wasn't much of a Mario fan, and I'm still not. And that's not to say that I didn't enjoy cartoony games, but for the most part, my subconscious strategy for looking for good games was finding realistic ones, because I liked 007, I liked, Mission Impossible. I liked a lot of these games that looked a little bit more realistic because, I felt like I could do better in them. But that was the strategy I was subconsciously using, and I was a little bit sour about Mom picking the game for me that night. I remember being a little upset, but I wasn't just about to, not play it. I mean, it's a game that I don't own, so I punked it in, and I'm very glad that I did, because I enjoyed every second of it. It really was awesome. Many of you might be already familiar with my love for this game, but this was a game changer. It had quirky characters, fun gameplay, colorful graphics, giant robots, and most of all, an amazing soundtrack. Oh god, that music. Every track in this game is an earworm that stays with me to this day. realize it at the time, but I had just come face to face with a hidden gem. A game that nobody talked about, but was way too good to be ignored. It made me wonder, how many other games are there out there like this? It's not like I had the internet to look for it, and there were magazines, but I didn't subscribe to those. And other than that, we had word of mouth. So, needless to say, that rush that I got from this game, I was really motivated to find more like it. Gone were my preconceptions of what a good game looked like. Every game I already owned or picked up off a rental shelf no longer represented just a fun day for me. Instead, every single title signified an endless treasure hunt for undiscovered potential just waiting to be explored. After searching for another golden experience, though, sadly, it became apparent that Mystical Ninja seemed to be just a special case. I really got far into it, but we had to return it back to the store. I gained a deep, vested interest in finishing it, determined to rent it again. Oddly enough, though, the game was hardly ever there and available for rental. Someone always had it checked out for some reason. And it would be a lot of months before I had another chance to try playing it again. Unfortunately, though, once I did get the chance to rent it again, we would have to return it back to the store after I got this close to beating the game. I still remember being at pretty much the final boss and Mom being at the back door, tapping her foot, kind of impatient, waiting for me to finish playing the game so we could bring it back to the store. I didn't end up beating the game, and we brought it back. And after that, the store got rid of their Generation 5 gaming stock, the N64 and the PS1, because the PS2 and the GameCube and the Xbox stuff came in, and that became the new in-stock stuff. They didn't really care to rent the other stuff by that point. I realized then that there must be other games out there like this. There have to be outstanding games that are just waiting to be discovered by me, personally. Not necessarily overlooked games by everyone else, but ones that I personally previously disregarded. So I became obsessed with finding the next great game. I would go on to discover that games outside my preferred Nintendo systems offered amazing things as well. By borrowing my friend's PlayStation 2, I found my love for Kingdom Hearts. So let's fast forward to when I got my first job. I was a dishwasher at a fancy Italian family-style restaurant. I made minimum wage, around $6 an hour, and I worked 4 to 8 hours a week. You can bet I spent every single penny on new games. Finally, a new system, a PlayStation 2, my first home console I ever bought and the first non-Nintendo system we had inside the house. So I had a job. I didn't make a lot of money, but my paycheck was huge to me. Just $100 was just a huge buying potential situation for me. I was no longer interested in renting. I really wanted to buy. I liked the idea of having a big game collection. So I'd walk into GameStop, and I'd walk out with half a dozen games. It was amazing. I'd soon find a love for games like Phantasy Star, Final Fantasy X, and Dirge of Cerberus. Yeah, there were some subpar games, but for every hidden gem I found, it was worth a million bad ones. It wasn't long before I noticed my collection was becoming larger than life. So I think the first time I noticed my collection was kind of carving out a sort of identity of its own in my house was when I realized I didn't really have enough shelf space to keep it all. So instead, I kept them on the floor, but I didn't keep them horizontal. I wanted them all vertical so they could display properly. And I had a small bookshelf with a ton of little chapter books and stuff like that from what I collected growing up. And then I had my little TV stand on the other side. And right between them was just this little space. There was just not to do here. On the side of the TV stand, there was some small shelves for N64 games and stuff, but I didn't have any room for DVD cases. And what I did was I stacked them vertically next to each other, right between the two spaces, so that they would hold together as if it was like a floor shelf. Now, not every case was the same size, so what I did was I put them on top of each other in a sort of a Tetris type fashion. It was actually, I remember looking at it and I thought it was really cool looking. Soon, I was in college, and the reality was setting in that I'd have to move out of my parents' house pretty soon and go into my own apartment. I was working for McDonald's and Walmart at the time, making decent money, but hardly had any stored away. Internet research showed that living by myself was going to be really expensive. I didn't own a car, I didn't have a cell phone, and I barely made above minimum wage most of the time. And the reality of not being able to afford cable internet was becoming a very real possibility. So like a responsible person, I saved my money very carefully. Nah, I'm just kidding. I started spending even more money on video games. The idea was to amass as many games as humanly possible. It might not have been the best idea, but it made sense to me. Because if I couldn't afford cable, and I couldn't afford internet, what the hell was I going to do to entertain myself? Read a book? No. You read a book. So my collection grew even larger. And one day I moved into my own apartment with my unemployed girlfriend, and just as I expected, I went broke. I went broke a couple of times, actually. But I was happy that I had, like, a huge collection of games to just keep me occupied. I never felt bored. I never felt like I had nothing to do, you know? I just sat there and played my games if I had nothing else. So at this point, the purpose of the collection went from using it as a flex, to wanting to own a lot of games to find hidden gems, to doomsday prepping. I didn't stay broke forever, though. I got better paying jobs, I got better apartments, and great shelving to display it all, and soon I realized that I no longer needed to doomsday prep. I mean, it was no longer necessary, but I still liked having a big collection. I remember looking up at my shelf one day and thinking, I wish I owned a normal, nothing special, retro-styled RPG to play right now. None of my games fit that description. I thought about things like that a lot. It would always be this random moment where I wish I owned a game to scratch a specific itch. Eventually, I got a really good paying job and decided I had a new reason to buy lots of games. The new goal? Never be caught without a game to play when any given mood strikes me. This, of course, made it very easy to consider any game worthy of purchasing. I bought new games, old games, expensive games, bootlegs, remakes, sequels, prequels, casual titles, spin-offs, rip-offs, you name it, I wanted it. The requisites for adding a game to my collection started to become a very low bar for any game to clear. I mean, most games have at least one unique thing going for them, and no matter how small or minor that is, it was usually enough to be worthy of buying for me. I even got like a wish list. I started up a wish list and made it, started adding to it, and it's enormous. It was enormous, and it's still growing to this day. I began purchasing them faster, too. I'd order them online using half.com, Amazon, and this little-known website called Glide. I would compare prices to get the most out of every penny, and order them en masse. One time, and this is a true story, at the very pinnacle of my collection growth, I came home to 128 enveloped games just sitting on my stairs to my apartment, waiting to be opened. It was like Christmas every day. It was amazing. But just like with Christmas, the party had to end sometime. You see, the job I'm at, they're about to move locations from where they were to where we are now. And I still didn't own a car. And there was no public transit that was going to take me there. So all the carefree burning of cash to buy games I wasn't going to play anytime soon had to grind to an end, unfortunately. And, besides the fact that I totaled that car, leased a new one, then bought a new one that I'm still paying off to this day, not a whole lot has happened. I still maintain a wish list, and I hope to finish it one day. I came pretty close, but then when the car issue happened, the buying stopped and the wanting continued. I still buy games, but now it's usually because, I plan on playing the game right away, or the price is about to shoot up, or the availability is about to dry up, or it's for the channel, or something like that. The point is, I don't just buy games to add them to my collection that much anymore. Before we actually take a look at the shrine, I feel it's worth visiting the altar. I know this entertainment center doesn't look too impressive, but there is a lot going on under the hood. See this box with the green lights? It's the HDMI matrix. It's like an HDMI selector, except it can output two different sources to different screens. Allow me to explain. This matrix has 6 inputs and 2 outputs. Input 1 is the Switch, Input 2 is the PS4, Input 3 is the Wii U, Input 4 is the second HDMI switcher. Input 5 is a vacant front-facing HDMI port that I normally use as a convenient way to plug in my laptop. Input 6 is the cable box.
What? I love cable.
The second HDMI switcher operates without an AC adapter. Both switchers have a remote, but this one switches sources automatically. Long story short, I use it to plug in my 360, PS2, GameCube, and PS3.
So for those of you keeping track at home, this entertainment center can seamlessly toggle between PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, GameCube, Wii U, Xbox 360, and a limited number of original Xbox games. And that's not even counting all the digital and emulation titles this thing can handle.
So going back to the Matrix from earlier, I mentioned there are 2 outputs. So what does that mean? Well, it means I display one of the 6 inputs on one screen and a totally different one on another screen.
Output 1 just goes to my biggest TV, but there's a catch.
As you can see here, I have an Elgato HD capture card in the middle of the entertainment center. That's because in an effort to make setting up the stream easier, I use it as a permanent pass-through instead of constantly connecting and disconnecting the card. So once output 1 leaves the Matrix, it passes through the Elgato capture card before making its way to my 50-inch TV. The capture card can't pass signals through without a power source though, so the card's USB cable is always either plugged into my streaming computer, or this little USB extension cord dangling from the back of the cable box. That way, anytime I want to stream, I just decouple these 2 cords and plug the capture card into my laptop. What about the second output, I hear you ask? This part's actually pretty cool. So the second output goes into an HDMI splitter. The signal's fed into the input of the splitter, so that its output can be split into multiple different screens. It's equipped to output up to 4 or 5 screens, but I only have it set up for 3. The first goes to the 32-inch mounted on my wall. I use the secondary screen for when I want to watch TV while gaming or when I want to play a different game than the missus.
We also use it as a second screen so we can monitor the stream chat and the chat itself.
The second output goes to a wireless HDMI transmitter, which sends its signal to the bedroom.
Which means I can use any of my living room stuff from the bedroom.
The third and final output is a long 25-foot cord that goes into a small 19-inch TV. During streams, this screen mirrors the wall-mounted one so that we can monitor YouTube.
Even while prepping food, because it's in the kitchen.
The entertainment center isn't all cable boxes and consoles. It hides some other goodies too, like the modem, router, Ethernet splitter, and official Who Watches This Channel asset cloud storage. The TV is Alexa enabled, so you can control power, volume, and input source through voice commands.
Alexa, TV volume 30.
No. Get off your fat ass and find the remote.
Both the main TVs support headphones, just in case Sammy and I want to play different games next to each other without sacrificing immersion. You may not have noticed earlier, or maybe you didn't care, but I just thought this would be worth mentioning. The Wii U sensor bar is actually situated on top of the cable box directly underneath the TV. I just think it's kind of neat because there's exactly enough room to fit it. Last but not least, there are the audio transmitters. The TV has analog audio output, which I've converted into auxiliary and then split into 2 different transmitters. Each is powered by this TV's USB port. The splitter supports up to 3 more aux output devices. During the stream, we mute the TV to guarantee that no audio will bleed into the mics. Instead, these transmitters will send the audio into our ears, making it basically impossible for the mics to pick up. Some of you may be asking, David, it must be a rat's nest of wires behind your entertainment center with all that going on. Well, you'd be actually kind of surprised to find out that you're absolutely right. Now, with that out of the way, let's check out the shrine.
I started keeping all the boxes to all of my consoles and most of my nice paraphernalia. I actually have spare Super Nintendo up there, and you'll see that. I keep a bunch of Funko Pop and other things. We got the Gate Guardian from Yu-Gi-Oh! Right up there. I know he doesn't... I mean, I only mostly allow decorations in here if they're video game based and not anime based, but technically they are in video games, and prominently so. So I'm holding on to those. We got my brother's Game Boy Advance, which he gave to me. Right up there we have an original Game Boy, one of two. I actually have the other one in my bedroom. There's the VR headset. You got Master Chief hiding back there. The Smash symbol. There's my man again, Vincent Valentine, and a beautiful statue of Link. Got the PS4 box. We got an Undertale Collector's Edition. A Game Boy Color that I am the original owner of. A Pikachu Pez dispenser.
I actually used to have the Mario Stars Plus World cart. I don't know what happened to it. I borrowed this from a friend when I was in elementary school, and then I moved, and I can't get a hold of him. Actual Mario World. I got this for free from my supervisor. Don't know what it's about. I have another copy of Mario World because someone was getting rid of their stuff. I have another copy of Mario World because I found it in my grandma's basement. Final Rage, got this from a neighbor. Don't even know what that's about. And a literal Super Game Boy. You know, now I'm just now noticing that there is some slight differences in the cover art here. So if you look at this one, and then you look at this one, they're pretty much identical. But then you look at this one, and you can see there's a clear difference, and I'm pretty sure it's because they took the font and moved it up here. I don't know if this is a real card. Is this a real card? What the hell is this? Where did this come from? This here's my arcade cabinet. I put it together myself. It's one of those one-up machines. And what I've done is I took out all the innards and the controls, and I drilled a new hole into the board there, and I replaced everything with a Pandora Box 6. There are 1,300 games on it.
Pandora Box 6. Dream never ends.
Some of the more astute of you might recognize this couch as what I like to call the Season 2 couch of Who Watches This. We did not get rid of it, we just moved it. This is what I like to call the retro station. Down here, we have all manner of retro game consoles. We got a Super Nintendo. Up here we have a Genesis and a PS2 because I own 3 of them, so one of them had to go here. My original N64, I am the original owner. We've got ourselves a Wii and a Dreamcast. The Wii is modded, soft modded, so it actually can play a lot more retro style stuff than all this stuff. In case I don't feel like breaking out the actual Genesis, for instance, I just plunk in a ROM of a Genesis game. And it took me not that long actually to get a hold of a CRT TV like this. This is actually really easy to get a hold of. I paid 20 bucks for this. It's a little high, but it's a flat screen, so pretty good stuff. And it has component input, which is really nice. Most people don't have a game collection as big as I do, so most people probably can't relate to this. But I have an inventory list of all the games I own, both digital and physical. And I have them in many different formats, like, you know, genre and system. And then I also have them just randomly listed based on, you know, when I got them. I have to keep this this record in case something goes missing, or if there's like a fire or something, because my games are all insured for about $36,000. So if something were to happen to them, they would need to be replaced, and I'd have to know what games they were. There are 2 game shelves that I own that are filled with themed games. So the first one among these is my Dragon Ball shelf, as you can see. It has basically everything here. All the games, pretty much all the games. If it's not there, it's going to be there soon. And I have replica Dragon Balls. There's Funko Pops in front, some other goodies like Burger King figurines and stuff. These are Pez dispensers. I got these from a coworker. They are not cheap. The other themed shelf isn't quite as immaculate. You'll see here it's actually a Final Fantasy shelf, and I only include the main line, and then if there's a sequel to the main line, and that's the only ones that I put here. So there's I have 3 figurines here, all from Final Fantasy X-2, and then I have 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls, all the way up through 14 and 15. This here is my display tower, and in it I put in all my decorations of all my most prized gaming paraphernalia. Let's just take a look. So I got this thing from IKEA. You can see here I got a bunch of stuff. There's Neku from The World Ends With You. There's a Mickey Mouse from Kingdom Hearts. That right there back there is a signature by Johnny Young Bosch of the Power Rangers. He's the black one. Well, in this picture he's the green one. But this particular instance he was the green one. But normally he's known as the Black Ranger. And he also did the voice of Ichigo from Bleach and Lelouch from Code Geass, as well as many others. You see here there's Gravity Rush Cat, there's Chell from Portal back there. Look down here, we got Butterfree, Handsome Jack. That blue one back there is Freya from Wise, the Oath and Felghana, I believe. We got Papyrus over there. I wanted Sans, but it seems impossible to get. We got back there is a mint in box Hunt Grayson, and he is from Bulletstorm. We got an Ocarina and the Locket, both of which look pretty damn close to how they appeared in their respective games. Down here we have Samua's plushies. We've got Vulpix, Alolan Ninetales, and Zacian. And down here we have the Pac-Man Ghost. Right there, that is actually a light-up kind of lamp sort of thing. You just plug it in. I haven't gotten around to wiring this up yet, but not only am I going to plug him in, but also I'm going to light up this entire tower. I'm going to light it up with DTOF lights, which are basically display tower lights, so that at night this whole tower will be lit up in LEDs. Down here we have some animation cells that I haven't gotten around to figuring out what I'm going to do with them. But I just wanted them just to have them. Let's take a look at some of these. I might just put these away in storage. But the one you're looking at right now, this is from my favorite movie ever. It is called Little Nemo. Not Finding Nemo, Little Nemo. It came out way before Finding Nemo. And it is a fantastic movie, but objectively, it's kind of awful. Got some books, Falling on the Princess. Oh, clever. Here's the main character. Pajama Pajama. Oh, there we go. I bought a bunch of these because this was my favorite movie as a kid. And I wanted to have a piece of this. These are all the originals. I'm guessing these are like darkness lines or something. Yeah, these are to like accentuate
how they look. That's actually pretty clever. So when these animation cells first became widely available and easy to purchase, I didn't see any that I wanted in particular, because none of the shows that were available were something I watched as a kid. But I did see some video game related ones, and I figured, may as well get them. Maybe I'll figure out something to do with them in the shrine. So these ones are from Street Fighter and Sonic, the cartoon. So we got that. I'm guessing that was for mouth flaps. Got some chasing scenes here. That's Ken right there. Gonna put that certificate aside. Looks like just like a sketch of some sort, but then if you flip it over, Sonic. Looks like Metal Sonic of some sort. Robotnik. I got a nice animation cell of Eggman's penis. Alright, so this is my handheld collection. I keep them on these two bottom shelves. So, we've got, here's my DS collection. I actually make sure that I get the cases with the games. I got some Game Boy Color stuff down here, original Game Boy as well. Once I realized that the boxes were actually rare, and would be super valuable, I started holding on to them. Actually, I had Pokemon Ruby, and then I lost it. It's probably buried out back in my parents' house somewhere. Here we have Turok 3. This is another game that I don't actually own. So my mother got me this for, I think, Easter one year. And I played it and I didn't like it. Don't get me wrong, Turok is great, but for the Game Boy Color, I mean, it's less than stellar, trust me. Anyway, my mother got this for me, and I knew that you could trade games in at GameStop. So I went to GameStop, and I traded it in. I think they gave me like $1. And I immediately regretted it. I wish I hadn't done it, because I put such sentimental value in everything I own, especially games. And that was the first and last time I ever traded in a game. I felt really, really bad about it. And I told Mom about it, and she said, that's fine, I'll just never get you a game again. And that made me feel even worse. So that's why, even after that, no matter what the game is, even if it's like Barney, I don't trade it in. Like, I might sell a game or trade it in if I own more than one copy. But if it's a game that I own and I only own one copy of, I don't do it anymore. This is also where I keep my handheld consoles. Original DS. We got an SP over here. And this is where I keep my now 2 Vitas. One is actually modded. We have my new 3DS XL and my PSP. You might be wondering, where do I keep all my games? Well, this bad boy right here. This is where I keep all my handheld cart games. If they're disc-based, like PSP, I keep them in their cases. But if they're carts, I can actually take basically all of them with me very easily if I just open this nice, I guess, camera case pouch. And you'll see here, it's filled absolutely to the brim with games. Just floating around loose. Oh, and this here is the official Who Watches This new 3DS XL. This one actually is capture card enabled. And this over here is my spare 3DS XL. So this statue is a Vice from Skies of Arcadia. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for him, but when I first was about to buy him, he cost $700. But then I found him on eBay for $100 or $2 less, I think. He stands 17 inches tall, and he is one of 1,000 only made. Very high quality stuff. This is actually probably the nicest looking statue I own. I decided I wanted to decorate the inside of my shrine with paraphernalia that reflects my greatest values and favorite games. Now, not a lot, admittedly, a lot of my favorite games don't actually have paraphernalia, like no merchandising whatsoever, because I like a lot of obscure games too. But what we have here is we got some nice open pasture from Golden Sun. I was very surprised I was able to find something good. We have a particle board, I think, replica of the sword and shield from Zelda. We got the Master Sword and the Hyrulean Shield. This here is a gigantic 40-inch horizontal poster of Chell giving GLaDOS a slice of cake. Not everything in here is about a game. Sometimes it's about inspirations. And two of my biggest inspirations in gaming are Satoru Iwata, who took all the chances in the world, and not all of them paid off, but when they did, they paid off huge. And he is a big reason why Nintendo is awesome as it is today. And then over here, we have none other than Shigeru Miyamoto. And I really wanted some nice posters to honor and commemorate their contribution to gaming. So I found these on Redbubble, actually. Over here, we have a poster of Phantasy Star Universe. Very obscure, but I was still able to get it. We've got a very, very kind of bootleggy, tiny poster of Final Fantasy X, because most Final Fantasy X posters kind of look like crap, and I really like this one. We have a laminated poster, which I made some poor decisions and tried to open up, of Fierce Deity. And we have a beautiful cloth poster of Frisk in Undertale. And this here is actually a metal poster. It is magnetized to the wall of my main man, Vincent Valentine. I still have yet to this day to beat Final Fantasy VII or even come close, but I beat the crap out of Dirge of Cerberus. Those are my Galar badges from Gen 8 Pokemon. Over here we have the first 7 generations worth of badges from the first 7 generations of Pokemon. This beautiful, gorgeous Majora's Mask replica was actually, I believe it was handmade. I got it from Etsy, and this bad boy cost $250, but it was worth every penny. I mounted it on the wall using command hooks that have like rounded edges, and they're tiny, and they have a clear backing, so it's hard to see. So here we have a Game Boy printer. I don't think I have any paper left for it, but I'll tell you what though, I bought this used at GameStop long after the Game Boy printer was even relevant, and that's assuming it was ever relevant. But I always wanted one because Pokemon was littered in Gen 2 of stuff that you could do with this, and when I bought it and I finally hooked it up, I used it one time to print out my Hall of Fame and then never used it again, and I'm pretty sure the ink is like dead or something because it was super faded. But I have it displayed on these like little things here. I actually don't want to touch it just in case. Hang on. I'll show you. A lot of these things I have displayed on these cool little stands. See that? These are for Wii U, as you can tell. I have them displayed like that. I have a bunch of them spare. The reason why I have so many of those, and plus, trust me, as many as you're seeing here, I have a lot more. The reason why I have so many spare Wii U stands is because when I purchased a cradle, it was a cradle and stand combo, and the guy sent me 2 stands and no cradle. So I emailed them and I said, dude, where's my cradle? And he goes, oh, sorry, let me send it to you. And then he sent me another stand. I'm like, that was the wrong thing. You sent me the stand.
And he goes, oh, sorry, let me send you another one. And he sent me another one. And he sent me another goddamn stand. And I go, dude, you're not sending me the cradle. He goes, and it comes out that he obviously didn't know. He thought that the cradle was the stand and the stand was the cradle. And I told him, no, that's not the case at all. And so I just ended up with like 5 or 6 of those things. These are player's guides and code books and some game review magazines. This is just where I keep some of them to keep this shelf a little bit stocked, but also because I want to hang on to some of these. Like, this Oblivion manual is freaking thick as hell. And I just think that's really cool. I got a Final Fantasy XI player's guide. I've got a Phantasy Star Universe player's guide. I always loved it when I almost never did this, but when I did get one of these nice, complete, illustrated guides, I always thought that was really cool. This is the guide that actually inside says that you can throw a Pokeball and get Ditto. And Ditto will come out and take the shape of you and fight alongside you for a while. I spent hours trying to get that to work, and only to find out after many, many tries that it wasn't happening. Turns out that was a feature that was cut from the game. Yeah, and then they would bring it back, I think, for Smash Ultimate, and Smash 4, maybe. And it actually did make it into the game. Here we have 3 colored flash drives. And what these are is they contain my entire life. After losing many, many, many PS3s and running into a few other problems as well, I decided I didn't like losing save files because it's the one proof I have that I existed and did something in a game. So, what I have here are 3 color-coded flash drives that actually contain copies of all my save files from most of my gameplay. So the green one's for Xbox, the black one is for PlayStation, and the red one's for Nintendo, and they cover any console that had a save game-based system that could be transferred. Yu-Gi-Oh! Faultbound Kingdom. This is one of the first games I got for my GameCube. It's nothing like the card game. It's basically like, I guess you could say Command and Conquer, sort of, in a way, but like if Command and Conquer had a turn-based sort of encounter sort of thing. Geist. This is a first-person shooter where you can possess characters and objects. That's pretty cool, right? Phantasy Star Online Episode 3. This is the worst game I have ever played. Vex. This is an amazing game. People need to know about this. This is another Collectathon 3D platformer like Mario 64. This is really, really good, except the final boss, which is total ass and way too difficult. But other than that, the rest of the game's amazing. Some of you may notice that I keep controllers on some of these shelves, and I keep the appropriate controller in front of the games that they're for. And that's because the ones that are on the shelves are actually the primary controllers that I use. I usually try to keep them gold whenever possible. I don't have a gold everything, just my Gen 7 and my PS4 controllers are gold. If they're not here, they're usually in use in some capacity. But I keep them up here. Now you might ask, David, if you keep all your controllers up here for just the single player stuff, where do you keep the rest of your controllers for when you want to play multiplayer? That's a good question. The answer is right here. This unassuming footstool. When you carry a ton of these oddly shaped things, storage eventually becomes an issue. And what I have done is I've come up with a solution where I can store them in a way that is not an eyesore. You can use this as a footrest. It's nice and faux leather. But when you open it up, you've got all these games. At the beginning, I kept them nice and stacked and organized inside as best as I could, but as I had to take more and more controllers out, this started to happen. But it's not that huge of a deal. I still keep really good care of them. We got, the PlayStation Move controllers. We got some Guitar Hero stuff going on. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I really hope it was worth the wait. Thank you guys so much for 500 subscribers. Couldn't have done it without you. And now thanks for 1,000. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I hope this was worth the wait. It was like 7 months. But it was really fun making the video, but I am ready to finish. This has been a thorn in my side, and let me tell you, I have so many other responsibilities to deal with right now, so I am more than happy to be done with this. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, on Discord, and check out our news on the announcements channel. Fill out the surveys, and stay cool.